What is up, you guys? Welcome back to Twink Revolution. I'm Sam.
And I'm Gian. And this is, it's really close to Christmas. And so we wanted to celebrate by inviting a charismatic Jewish man whose words and deeds tend to upset conservatives and Italians. Felix Biederman of Chapo Trap House. Welcome. Hi, Felix.
Thank you. Hey, thank you guys for having me. Christmas is my favorite time of the year. We did both growing up for a few years, and then we ended up just doing Christmas because it's more convenient. But Christmas is an American holiday.
Yeah,
more than anything. I don't consider it a Christian holiday. No, it's a holiday you celebrate if you're an American, in my opinion. I know Muslims who celebrate Christmas. I know Jews who celebrate it. It's just a fun time of year, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I mean, nothing sort of unhealthy or sick about Christmas in a pandemic, particularly. It's just a wonderful time for gathering and for going out to mega malls and buying shit. I think it's an essential service we provide.
Well, this year, I can't go back to Chicago. None of us are. We can't go back to Chicago for Christmas. My mom is the red zone.
Yeah,
I mean, as far as blue states go, that is the red zone. Lori Lightfoot really fucked up, but no, there's always next year.
What are you talking about? She's a black lesbian. She's amazing.
How could it be bad? I don't get it.
Everyone fucking hates her now. Great.
Yeah, we actually wanted to have you on because we were going to plot the details of a kidnapping plot together, just live on the air. So we were kind of I guess really excited to have you on for many reasons. This is all very parasocial for me because I was a long-time Chapo listener, and it's been great. But I was kind of curious, what the fuck is it like to be on Chapo Trap House in 2020? Because it's been a weird fucking year, and surely the origins of Chapo feel pretty far removed now from the moment we find ourselves in. So what's that like these days?
Well, it's weird. I mean, now I would say post Biden victory, I feel like doing the show and doing, loathe to use this word, but what other word is there? Content. It gives me the feeling I had doing it in 2016. Obviously, very different because in 2016 it was very novel, and it freaked us out how quickly it picked up, how quickly it became a thing, being at war with the liberal media as much as we were. And now it's much different. Liberal media is smart enough to know not to engage with us too much. That was always good for us when they did, even if it would cause some personal aggravations. But as far as just the feeling I have, the feeling of the stuff we're doing, the stuff that we're talking about, the emotional content of it, it feels a lot like 2016 in that, 2018, I would say, was the hardest time to do the show. 2018 was the most difficult. 2017 sucked because it was if you noticed, every 3 years, there's a liberal cultural hysteria. There was one in 2014. There was one in 2017 where you take there's a real issue. There's something rooted in a real issue, with 2014, it came out of police brutality in Ferguson, but of course it always gets filtered through the liberal media to just become all right, we have to bring out a guy to apologize for 4 episodes of Doug that aired in 1996, and funding for police departments increases steadily. Nothing happens. Imperialism goes on undeterred. Nothing changes. None of the actual impacting features of racism are lessened. With 2017, it was Trump, and it was then Me Too, both actual real things. And then, Me Too gets turned into Hollywood throwing a fucking party for themselves at that Oscars that year. Hey, we're not rapists anymore. We're going to go back to lecture. We're going back to lecturing you. The Trump shit. It was at first it was, we very quickly saw how the comedic vein was going to be dry. And in 2018, you had the hangover of that of 2017, where it wasn't like a fun chaos year like 2015 was culturally, but it was just like the same fucking thing every day. It was Groundhog Day. It was every week there was a new Trump micro controversy, or there was a new like, and if you were on like sort of online left spaces, there was like a new dumb piece of, sort of rad lib concern trolling shit that you would have to engage with. And it felt very dire then. Obviously not personally dire, or some of the luckiest people that have ever lived, given our occupation. But just as far as like trying to sift through culture to find stuff that's interesting and funny, it was very difficult for me personally. And now I mean, everything is infuriating and terrible, but I feel like I have an endless vein into the earth that I can tap into.
Yeah, so I mean, I it's sort of interesting, right? Because I watch you guys sort of get, you occupy a huge piece of mind share for several groups of people. Those who sort of believe you're just the establishment media now, and you're sort of insufficiently radical. Then clearly just the kind of the usual like targets of your ire, and like Democratic operatives or whatever. How does it feel to? I mean, I imagine you just kind of, it's pretty fucking hard not to say anything with the audience you have without just somebody fucking yelling at you.
Yeah, well, I feel like being yelled at is the cost of doing business. If you get to do this for a job, that's the cost of doing business. Now, of course, some people who don't do this for a job, people just love yelling at them too. But I feel like if you're going to yell at anyone, it's fine to yell at people in the media, because that's what we're there for, if we get to do this for a job. But that is something I would say that occupied a mental space for me, and even like affected my behavior as far as like trying to self-censor and stuff, a year after we sort of took off. And then over time, I realized that you also can't go the other way. You can't tell your behavior for everyone that yells at you, even if it is supposedly in good faith. But what you also can't do is respond to everybody and fight with everyone all the time. It's like, I'm sympathetic to the idea of people, who feel like they've been canceled, so to speak, or, feel like they're constantly at war with censorious forces. But I feel like now, after having done this for a little while, the best thing you can do is you just keep doing the thing that makes everyone crazy. And obviously you grow as a person, and you have different ideas of what's funny, more or less, as you go on. But as long as like the core of what you do, it's still the thing you loved doing when you started. Obviously, I can't say the R word as much as I do. I'm as much as in 2015. It was okay back then.
Yeah.
But
we just didn't know.
Maybe Biden brings it back. But do I feel like now we get to do the core thing that we'll get yelled at over? Yeah, absolutely. And I feel good about that. And I feel like that if you're just a person and, you just like, trying to think of an example, like that girl who in Utah who like went to prom wearing like, the traditional Chinese dress,
sure,
got canceled on psychopathic 2017 Twitter for it. There's nothing you could do. You fucking shit under the stick. What can you do? What can you do if you're just a fucking person? But if you're in the media and you truly believe that what you do is defensible and you love what it is and it appeals to people, you should keep doing it. I mean, easier said than done. Like we're set. Like we're funded by an audience, and like if you're working for a media outlet, it's totally different. I understand that, but just as far as where we're coming from, that's how I feel about it.
It must be a sort of interesting effect as well, just given that sort of Chapo Trap House is both a sort of a weird outsider political project that sprung up, but it's also it's now a serious business. It's a it's a very impressively large, like, it's like you guys and Rogan, right? Like making the scratch out of podcasting. Do you think that leads to sort of different kind of scrutiny?
I don't think we're like, I think as far as something that like just sort of organically came from this online place in the last 4 or 5 years, we're one of the biggest things that came like just from that. But I feel like in the larger world, we're a considerably smaller fish. Rogan has millions and millions of listeners. He's a centimillionaire a few times over from the Spotify deal and everything. And, that's not to say, look at him, don't look at us. But, it's more to say that like obviously you're going to get scrutiny if a few 100,000 people listen to something. You're not free from it. You're not entitled to not having it. But that is, and I'm past the point of it freaking me out or caring about it a lot. But like, it is always weird to me that our critics seem to think that they overrate our influence about 1,000 times more than we do. Like, I think we have kind of an outsized cultural presence because so many producers of media listen to us or have a reaction to us one way or the other. But just as far as pure numbers, we're not up there with like Rogan or someone like that, I feel like.
No, I mean, sorry, I was kind of baiting you there only because I think people misestimate by like several orders of magnitude how much of a listenership we have. And so like, I assume that it just gets worse. People's delusions of like how much of the media sphere you control. When if you sort of think, I think it's funny people sort of zero in on the Patreon when like probably all of the money you guys have collected, across all of you over all time is like what Bill O'Reilly gets for like a show.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, no, it's always, that is the strangest thing about now when you hate somebody, you imply that they have 10 million listeners for some reason. That's what's insane. Like if you printed out all the fucking articles people wrote about Red Scare, entire forest in the Pacific Northwest would have given its life. Because, and what was the central thing there? The central thing was it's Strasserism.
Yes.
Red Scare is gonna get all these young men into Strasserism. First of all, if you can find me more than 5 heterosexual men who listen to Red Scare, that's not who's listening to it. Yeah. That's not who's listening to it. But like that's what you have to do when you hate something. You can't just, no one can anymore like hate something because they don't think it's good or even just it offends them. It's that it's dangerous. It's that, it's not that I don't like Red Scare or I dislike the host. It's that they, they're going to cause a third positionist uprising like the world has never actually seen. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? It's the strangest thing. I mean, all politics now in all directions, because the right loves this too, is just being a cat exposing its belly, just mewling on the floor. I'm weak. All my enemies want to kill me. All my enemies have 100 billion fucking listeners. They're all gonna kill me. It's crazy. It's fucking crazy. I mean, I was a kid during post 9/11 America, and that was the opposite. I was projecting a strength that was very hollow. And now this is a projected hollow weakness.
Yeah, I remember in like 2016 or 2017, there was a lot of like Red Brown Alliance articles coming around, like about the dirtbag. The last one was like comparing you, like Chapo, and like Red Scare, and like Come Town to like Alexander Dugin and like the fascists in Europe, and I was like, how is this working? Like,
it's a pipeline.
No, it just the ravings of a lunatic, and Come Town. I get like if somebody. I listen to it. I love, whenever I'm in a bad mood, I love to solo queue Counter-Strike and listen to Come Town. It always puts me in a good mood.
Oh, yeah.
But there is nothing on Come Town that is more offensive than something that was on like 1999 Saturday Night Live. Like, how does that work? We had this like 20 years ago and it didn't cause a Nazi uprising, but it would now. What the fuck are you talking about?
Well, yeah,
What changed?
It's the kind of conspiratorial thinking that imagines that like anybody who has built any kind of audience by effectively sort of mumbling into a microphone periodically must have a hidden and covert agenda to build political power completely diametrically opposed to what they profess to believe. And I mean, we've been very clear, right? Is we're trying to turn all of our heterosexual listeners into catboys. That's our real agenda. And I don't know. It's sad people call us Nazbols or something. But I'm like, no, it's right out there. It's in the open.
Yeah, it seems like the most just a Rube Goldberg machine of making people fascists. I don't get it. Like there are people who are just openly, you can find neo-Carlists online, people who just are that thing. And they also have no real impact on the world. But no, yeah, that was the prevailing thing for like early 2018, I believe. It was everyone who either makes a piece of political comedy that's like sort of part of a broad left, if it's popular enough, or like Come Down, like it's just that is purely entertainment. They all want you to be Nazis, and it's like I think these very disparate, very different groups of people, like what is similar about like me and Dasha? where we have to both get together and make everyone Nazis.
Yes.
Like it does not, like, forget scrutiny. It doesn't withstand any like thinking about it for 1 second.
Well, I think we also, I think, we've done some careful acoustic analysis of Stavros's laugh. And if you backmask it, he's actually saying, you must form a Nazi party in the United States.
Yeah.
It's fascinating. If you play it forward, yeah, incredibly funny. So there's been, thankfully there's somebody around who has a bigger audience, who's getting way more fucking hate than the entire online left combined. And it's the makers of Cyberpunk 2077.
Yeah.
You are a well-known gamer. Are you on this train? Are you sending death threats to CD Projekt Red right now? Or?
No, I don't know what people expected. I mean, God damn it! Like people saw the Fallout 76 every time. 5 years in advance, we're gonna make the open world game where every puddle in everyone's different game is different, totally randomized, procedural, randomized, generated worlds, blah blah blah. You affect the ending, blah blah blah. I've been hearing this since I got my first computer when I was a kid, and I mean, I'm sick of open world games. I'm fucking sick of them. Like, give me some goddamn levels. Give me Zone of the Enders 2 or the Ninja Gaiden reboot that was on Xbox. That was amazing. This open world shit, like, it's the worst of both worlds because it's a chore to play usually. Like, you're not, Rockstar. You're not making as cool of an open world as they do in GTA. You're making something much shittier, but it also necessitates 80-hour work weeks for all the lowest level programmers. So no one's happy. No one's happy. And these games never work when they come out. No game has ever worked since it's come out, since like 2008? Not that you can just patch it on release. Who gives a shit? Just fucking put it out there. You have shareholders to respond to before you do consumers. And I mean, yeah, I get being frustrated if you're like a 19-year-old kid and you spend 60 of your meager wages on this game and it's fucked up, but don't pre-order it. That's I hope you learn that way. We had Battlefield 4, when I was younger, and everyone was really excited about it. When it came out, it was a fucking disaster. It was so fucked up. Nothing worked. You like clipped through everything. They patched it. They made it one of the best shooters ever made, in my opinion. But that's how she goes. Look, if you're sending death threats to a developer, chances are that's getting to some guy in Malaysia who has to work the tech support line, or one of the guys who had to work 80 hours a week knowing he had to ship a broken game. That's not getting to the asshole at the top usually. Ubisoft, they're the kings of this, just shipping things that are fucking broken. I'm never gonna get to, if I sent 1,000 death threats to Ubisoft, I'm never getting to the French prick at the top. They're not getting up there.
But you are a PC gamer, right? Because I've been playing Cyberpunk 2077 on PC, and gotta say, great game.
It's people like past the bugs. I mean, PS4 seems to be the most broken thing, which is funny because it was so specifically developed for PS4 at some stage of its development. But like, as far as that type of game, it's not my type of thing, but it seems like it's fun. Like, it's fun.
There's just a baffling number of dildos in the game.
Didn't they patch that?
I don't know. I mean, possibly. It still seemed like a lot of dildos just in general. I mean, I love that sort of all of the most glaring bugs were just to do with like dong selection. Like, that's really the ones that made people the maddest. Like, what do you mean? Reddit's small dick problems or whatever, just like sending in bomb threats to immediately.
I think that was I think Branson from E1 said that the funniest thing you can do in Cyberpunk is to make your guy's dick 5.5 inches, which I have to agree with. That's very funny to do.
Yep. A beautiful, rich, open fantasy world that honestly the opening experience of the game is just obsessing over a computer-generated penis with physics. No, it's great. So what are you playing and enjoying these days? It's quarantine, so presumably Let's
see. I played a lot of Valorant yesterday, and I don't usually play that game because I just consider it like a worse CS. And since quarantine, I've gotten very into Counter-Strike. I'm a million years old, so I played Source and I played 1.6, and I didn't.
I played pre-1.
Okay. I didn't really get to play Go when it came out because I didn't have a PC. And I finally got one again 2 years ago. So it's just been a slow process of getting back into PC gaming. And I mean, I really think CS it's the perfect FPS. It's the best one. It's very simple on its surface, very complex when you get into it. They're the same maps we've all been playing for decades now, but there are always a million ways to play them, and the skill ceiling is so high. I love it. I'm a pretty mediocre player. I'm a Gold Nova 1, probably on verge of a rank up, though. Just having said that, I'll probably derank next time I play. But it's just an endlessly deep game, and I love playing it. But I did play some Valorant the other day because I have friends who don't really play CS. Like the Pot About List guys play a lot of Valorant. I love, I've pretty much kind of normie taste. I like playing online shooters that my friends play. So Warzone I find very fun, even though it's frustrating how shitty it runs. But my PS4 is sitting around somewhere, and I think the next thing I'll play is Yakuza 0. And I also want to play Sekiro because I've been thinking a lot about Ninja Gaiden on Xbox, the first one, and how much I loved it, and how much I want to play a game like that again. And Yakuza 0 came with a ton of recommendations, so you got to break it up. If you only play Counter-Strike, you will turn into a fucking psycho.
So you're not a subscriber to a sort of like high art theory of video games. It's purely an enjoyment thing for you, or do you subscribe to some of that, like these was replaced or displaced like all other media really is like where the creativity is going? It's not movies, right?
I don't know. I feel like movies are worse than they were 5 or 6 or definitely 10 years ago.
Oh, they are. Yeah.
Yeah. But the thing is, I don't think the best year ever for games in my lifetime was 2004, and it's never gotten better in a single year since then.
What came out that was Half-Life 2 that year?
Half-Life 2.
Yeah.
We got Metal Gear Solid 3, GTA San Andreas.
Yep.
there was Splinter Cell Chaos Theory was 2005.
Okay.
But that, I mean, just that period was so fucking good. Chaos Theory, one of the greatest stealth games ever made. Like, it was just hit after hit after hit. Even if you want to extend it, like make it like 01 to 05, that 4-year stretch, incomparable to now. Like, I'm trying to think of the last few years. Like, people love Sekiro, but beyond that, it's like, okay, what, you got fucking Battlefield 5? That's the worst one in the series.
Right. Yeah, Battlefield 1942 must have been in that patch site there.
Oh, God, I loved 42. I love 42. I love 2. I love Battlefield Vietnam. Battlefield 3, maybe my favorite Battlefield. Bad Company 2, amazing. But it was just, I don't know. Maybe the creativity is going into the esports players themselves. I don't know. I mean, here's this. Matt and I are we have a project that's going to be out in a little bit. It's about TV. And the thing we've been talking a lot about is how we're in such a weird, dark place in media right now because, to really go back, Metal Gear Solid 2, that all censorship will be done by deluge rather than, turning the spigot left. You have 500,000 fucking shows on Netflix and Hulu and everything. You can't possibly cover them all. And if you go back to more of a wellspring of creativity, like the 90s, things like the X-Files, their thing was, it was Fox going, all right, we're the youngest network. We have to do things that other people aren't doing. And so we're going to make this show that's like a drama, but has very postmodern elements. X-Files is one of the most postmodern network dramas ever made. It's going to be funny in this weird way. And it's going to be about how the deep state's evil.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have comprehensive politics. It's just the politics of like, a fucking surfer stoner burnout. And now everyone is promising they're doing something different, but you don't notice because it's show 1 of 70 that was announced that day. And the thing is, they're all incredibly derivative. If you liked, it's like, you ever see those charts of, what religions sprang out of the Abrahamic religions? Yeah. It's like that. Oh, out of Gossip Girl comes, 13 Reasons Why. And then there's fucking, Pretty Little Liars. And there's fucking, if you like Sopranos, like there's Boardwalk Empire, but then, whatever. Like it just, there's too much. I think if we could make it to 5 separately owned streaming services and limit the amount of shows to like, there are 12 dramas or something like that. I don't know how you fix it, but I don't feel like we're in a particularly creative place right now. Everything is done by the algorithm and everything is done by micro-targeting.
Well, and everything has those specific aesthetics. I mean, it's funny because the X-Files and then what was it that those Space Above and Beyond that they did afterwards, right? They just like kept like turning up that like green saturated the show's got darker and darker. The funny thing is, if you sort of even look at those side by side, in spite of like the X-Files sort of like shitty quality now and just visually, something like House of Cards is just trying to do that visual style, and everything's like, oh, this is one of those shows. Okay, I got you. And I've now understood from the opening frame exactly what this show is about, purely by like color temperature.
Exactly. There are a lot of like cold blues and muted reds in House of Cards, and you're like, oh, okay, I get what you're going for. All right, fine, whatever. Like American Horror Story, it'll do this like fake 1980s vivid color palette, and you're like, oh, I get it. It's camp. It's funny.
Yeah, there seems to also be like every single media is like a lecture now on like how to properly talk about race or gender. Like every show has like a gay or trans or like yes queen moment now. I mean, Cyberpunk 2077 is talking about sex work as work. No, I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think coherent politics don't really belong in art.
No.
we like artists and we like actors because they're stupid and insane, but they can do this amazing thing that tricks our brains. We don't like them because they're brilliant, coherent masterminds.
It's funny. I actually rewatched a lot of X-Files a couple of years back, and one of the things I think I probably was too young to appreciate at the time is just how often it'll be sort of Scully walking in on Mulder just jerking off to porn. It's such a wonderful little flourish where it's never really acknowledged or like, but it's just threaded through. It's clearly some gag. And yet, yes, it is not a show with coherent politics or even kind of consistent characterizations. Like who the fuck are these people? They don't really make sense when you binge. They're not a bingeable show, and yet just incredibly compelling.
An amazing show with some of the greatest chemistry that's ever been on network TV. And yeah, no, it's just, going back on the X-Files was interesting because you had a little bit of you had the perfect amounts of what everyone does too much of now. There's like, oh, do you like postmodernism? Okay, well, everything's postmodern now. Every character, breaks down the trailer moment in their thing. Like how every Marvel character, like they'll say the trailer line, then they'll be like, "Oh, are you the guy with the plan?" or like, "Oh, did you like the funny campy episodes of that?" Well, here's the whole fucking thing. Here's American Horror Story. It's all camp, you dumb fucks. Isn't it funny? Don't you love it? If you liked, it had just the right amount of all of it at varying moments. And obviously it could be hit or miss. And when it missed, it was like the Duchovny directed episodes. But it legitimately was going for things. And when it hit hard. And now, it's very rare we even get something that's interesting in a bad way, because I feel like a bad show or movie is... That's why I love it when we watch those Christian movies on the show, because they're the last like bad movies in America that are like bad for an interesting reason. Because a bad movie is interesting when you can see the gap between the creator's intentions and the result. And most movies now, because they're made by fucking Deep Blue, that gap doesn't exist. They did exactly what they wanted. It's just very lukewarm. It's so... Like I remember being depressed after I watched the Warcraft movie for the show.
Oh, fuck.
And because it was like, I was expecting to be like funny and bad, but it was just like, oh my God, this is just Thor, or this is just fucking Superman, or this is what I think. That's why there's a cult around Zack Snyder, actually, is because what people characterize as good or artistic, they don't know what they're describing. Really, what they're describing is that gap. He's the last guy with a big budget who shows that gap because he's sort of a fucking putz. But it's like, at least I know it's made by a person. Like at least when I watch a 3-hour bloated piece of shit that's like essentially about how Batman wants to penetrate Superman, it's like, there's the gap. There it is. Yeah. That's the proof that a person made it. We watched this insane Christian movie about time travelers and this Muslim who wants to travel back in time to stop the crucifixion of Jesus Christ, to like end Christianity, to like make Islam the only religion. And it's like obviously horrible and just like pretty racist and like just awful politically or whatever. But it just like the thing that they made is so interesting to me in a way that like nothing has been in the past 5 years.
Are you looking forward to Michael Bay's COVID movie? I can't wait.
That'll be exciting.
I'm assuming, and like I know it's a trite bit, but I just can't get away from the hope that the mutation of the COVID 2022 virus, or whatever the premise is it just makes people explode. Because I mean, honestly, that would actually be the perfect movie if you think of it. So it's sort of like Snakes on a Plane level of like premise through to execution. Just like, if it's just Michael Bay blowing up people in a COVID theme for 2 hours, I would watch that so hard.
That would be, yeah. And there'll be like all those, like Michael Bay loves those action vignettes where it's like an old husband and wife, and like the wife has COVID and the husband demands to explode with her. like stuff like that. He loves stuff like that.
See, I mean, that would be literally ideal.
Yeah.
I feel like in another way, like the recent boom of like documentary kind of series being the prolific media production, because real life is so much crazier than anything they want to produce. Like Tiger King, like no one's gonna make a fucking story about Tiger King because like it's already so crazy. Like no one would have thought of it unless it actually happened. Like.
Well, speaking of actually real life though as well, I'm reliably informed you're sort of following the production of Avatar 2.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
In my home country of New Zealand, where James Cameron has apparently just bought half the country. See what he
does with it. See what he does with it. You guys might like it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I do think it's what's sort of weird though, right? Is there was a kind of compelling reason to film like Lord of the Rings and shit like that, even like Chronicles of Narnia in New Zealand for all the picturesque mountain backdrops. Avatar is like they are going to like digitally remove the New Zealand backdrop and put in some fucking glowing trees and shit. Like, why would you film there? It doesn't make sense.
I do not know Cameron's reasons, but
tax breaks.
Tax breaks, yeah, let's be honest. But also consider this. Maybe he wants to show the cast and crew and the world that Pandora is real, and the only place you can show that is in New Zealand.
Maybe, yeah. No, he bought a lake, I believe. It's like 2,500 acres or something around the lake.
That's fun. I'm not really into private ownership of lakes, obviously, but like if anyone's going to privately own a lake, I mean, do you want it to be Kim.com or do you want it to be the greatest administrator in North America? I don't know.
True. Yeah, no. And I guess he's got the submersible. He can go like check out the bottom of the lake, make sure it's well maintained. Like so many possibilities.
Yeah. He's going to do a good job with it. Like, I don't think like, you ever read those rich lists and you get mad because like, the person that owns Bass shoes is worth $12 billion. And you're like, those aren't even good shoes.
Yeah.
Like, you don't want that guy to own a lake. He's not going to do anything good with it. Like, like the lady who owns like Zara handbags. I don't want her to own a forest because it's like, she's going to do something. She's just not going to pay attention to it. She's not going to give a shit. None of these people like, no Texas oil men or like Azerbaijani natural gas heirs or Silicon Valley guys. I don't trust them with any of nature's treasures.
Well, he also
this one guy, I do.
Well, he also he bought in the North Island, which most of the Silicon Valley shitheads like Peter Thiel and everybody have all their bunkers in the South Island. So he is charting his own path of very, very wealthy weird guy.
Yeah, no, he's a strange person for sure, and he's a very, very, very rich man. But let's see what he does with it.
And he has the good sense to keep casting Sigourney Weaver and things. So
yeah, no,
not to see.
I think like in a few years we're gonna see what he was going for, and it will all have been worth it. I'm not talking about the movie. I'm talking about like what he does with New Zealand.
Oh yeah, Pandora Land. Yeah.
Yeah.
So as we were kind of alluding to earlier, you're you are hemmed in at all sides by people who don't want you to express your true feelings on things, especially Italians primarily. But you have this deep and encyclopedic knowledge of Middle Eastern politics. And so we were hoping you would just sort of declare your loyal support for Assad on this podcast and tell us why he's the best.
I love that. I love that when people call Americans Assadists.
Yes.
Like that's an existing thing. like someone who's never left the continental US is an Assadist. Like that means anything to call them that. I always think that's hilarious. The thing about Syria, I always think about what Matt V. Brady said about it. You guys know Matt V. Brady?
Yeah.
Preeminent Anzac poster. One of the greatest to ever do it. And there are a lot of great posters from the Anzac region of the world. I have been in IRC with them since the moment I got a computer. For some reason, New Zealanders and Australians are highly represented on the computer.
Yeah. This is where we exist. Pandora's displaced our natural homeland.
But he called Syria madness ruin, which I think is so true because, I am completely anti-intervention in everything. And I have been completely skeptical of all Western propaganda attempts to get us involved in Syria. And I don't think it's any of our places as Americans to just say who needs to go. It's fucking absurd. But you got to admit, it's kind of funny when you see like an American who's like really into one side of a war that he's not in. That's hilarious to me. I'm sorry. It's never not going to be funny to me. Like there's probably like one or two American Assadists who are like,
yeah, we're right here.
Like, right. Yeah. How can you even get mad at that? That's hilarious. Yeah. I'm sorry. That's funny. Like to just be in a place you're never going to go and be like, yeah, that's a fucking guy. But no, yeah, The Syria thing is fascinating to me because it's all that online. It's just all people who are never gonna go, have never been there, or if they've been there, they work for some like media outlet. They work for like either Al Jazeera or TRT, where like they got some Al Qaeda contact in Idlib to like take them to Idlib and be like, "See guys, it's great, great, everyone loves it." And yeah, just some fucking asshole that lives in London who's like, yeah, no, they should just let Arar al-Sham run the country. Yeah. Why not? And it's like, it's not like you don't have to live there. It's fucking easy for you to say. But it is a madness because more funny than members of the media doing that because, it is their job to obfuscate the truth and sort of manipulate you emotionally and to go like, to post pictures of atrocities that happen in wars and go, you're telling this child that you don't care when you say America shouldn't invade, doing varying degrees of the explicit, how explicit that is. Or, the left case for intervention. Funnier than that are people who aren't not even getting paid for it. And that their entire worldview is just like, who is an Assadist online and who isn't? Or who is pro regime change and who isn't, and it's just like different people doing it pro bono is hysterical to me. Brady is completely right. It's a madness rune. I mean, it goes back to something we were talking about earlier. How you can't ever, not just dislike somebody's posts or them or their face or whatever. It's that you have now involved this country on the other side of the earth from you, and you're on one side and they're on the other.
Yeah, there's a funny thing of like certain aspects of like the like kind of like left libertarian like anarchist fear of like anyone who's critical of the narrative around Syria is like an Assadist, but then they'll be like, oh, but we love Molly Crapo who went to Idlib and did like a painting book for like her State Department think tank. Like there's just makes no sense, and just like, oh, why do you care so much? Like worry about your own country, it's falling apart.
Well, we don't even care about the shitheads we end up kind of exporting into the middle of this.
Yeah, like Vice.
Those people are probably exactly. No more Vice journalists in war zones. That is our commitment to the world. It's my non-interventionism.
If Biden got behind that, oh my God, great. I would love that. Vice should just become a subsidiary of Food Insider. It should just do those, those disgusting videos where it's like, oh, they put a grilled cheese sandwich on donuts. Would you eat it? Oh, they made a gold-plated steak. That's what those Vice journalists should be doing.
I love that Food Insider. Sorry, this is a complete tangent, but I fell into like a YouTube hole of Food Insider the other day, and they'll literally just go to like a random country and it'll be somebody just like making a fucking normal side salad or something, and they're like, this amazing, look, this Iranian farmer's side salad is, that's a dude making a salad, like the fuck. Bring back the jumbo 10-ton hamburger or whatever.
Food Insider is like, it's like something that the Soviets would make in the 60s to make fun of Americans. It's like, I bet you idiots like eating like Captain Crunch burgers. It's like, yes, they cost $37 at Manhattan's Salt and Pine restaurant in Midtown.
That reminds me of there was like a North Korean film that was leaked, and it was of like the social media like reality TV show thing. It was like these bourgeois people scream and fight at each other, and this is entertainment in the American system. And it's just like it was very like very real, but like making fun of like Paris Hilton. It was like, oh, she's a spoiled brat and is considered one of the top celebrities in America. And it's like, oh, you're not wrong.
I mean, yeah, no. I mean, got us there.
Yeah.
When you win, you win.
Yeah.
I mean, reality TV is mostly, I mean, it's a perfect American invention because it formed as a sort of scab activity, and scab activity against, hilariously, one of the only strong unions we have left are the fucking TV writers. What a cruel joke that is. The TV writers, that's one of our strongest unions. Well, God, talk about you want to do something to make fun of America. That is like a joke the Soviets would tell in the 60s too. Oh, what are your strongest unions? The cops and the TV writers? Actually, yeah. But I do admit, I watched a lot of Vanderpump Rules. I like that one. That one's fun. I like that one.
So regarding like Syria topic, I mean, clearly as a big podcast, there's a lot of people that will hate certain things you say, and I mean, you've gotten lots of hate for talking about it. Have you felt a need to like kind of be more careful about how you talk about the Syrian conflict or like just Middle Eastern politics in general, or you kind of just not give a fuck?
It depends on the thing.
Okay.
Like,
I thought it was weird you're wearing the Red Scare ISIS shirt right now. I think that's really strange.
Generally, my rule is, I really think like, I do not like the idea that anything is really off limits. I mean, everyone. And no one likes that idea either. The same people that will, tell you not to make a joke about Syria have a million fucking 9/11 jokes, and the same people not to make a 9/11 joke have a million fucking jokes about refugees, and the same people who tell you, but generally the thing I try to keep in mind is like, would I say this in a DM? I think about something Mullen said a while ago, which is like, that did sort of, he said it on a show during a period of my life, 2017, where I was sort of reconciling with the idea of having an audience that constantly like, or paying, not, I shouldn't say this, having a part of an audience that like will, in good faith or bad faith, oftentimes in good faith, like dislike the tenor or content of things you say. And it used to freak me out because I never had like thousands of people doing that. And it really freaked me out. And it really like, no, I will admit it altered, how I did things. I self-censored a lot, in certain months of 2017. And I remember on a show, Mullen saying, if you're a different guy, in your DMs and your texts and your life than you are in your thing, like that's bad for you. That's fucking awful. And it was like, holy shit, I like am. Like I've become that. I wasn't that at the start of this. I wasn't that through all 2016, the earlier part of this year, but now I am. And that's fucking awful. And so I like sort of drew back from that. And, I have like, I probably am like in general, like probably more careful than I was at the start of the show. Like I definitely am. Like Rain Over Me episode probably wouldn't happen the same way today. But like, and in general, like obviously you don't want to do things that are offensive just for the sake of being offensive. But the main thing I try to follow with Syrian, with everything, is just to try to be consistent across everything. Obviously, like you can't always totally adhere to that. Like, but in general, just trying to be consistent across everything. And like, it's like with anything explicitly political that we talk about. I want to acknowledge the human cost of it. I want to speak to, the value of human life, which is fundamentally what I think we're all here about, is the value of human life. But I also, I want to find what's funny about anything. And there's something funny in everything.
Right. it's fascinating to me that people don't, people talk all about Nick Mullen being a Nazi. They don't talk about how profound he's, the greatest thinker of our time, honestly. And I say that almost without irony. The dude is very smart.
He's one of the smartest people I've ever known. And I mean, you can call like his output, you can erroneously call his output like stupid or whatever. And it is like, you'd be totally wrong. And it's like, okay, in the sense that it's like childish to talk about like fucking dicks and calm, like whatever, I guess is childish, even though that's like, again, that's kind of what all comedy is. But like,
and the lives of gay men,
the lives of gay men.
Yeah.
Did you hear the Eric Clapton episode they did recently?
No, I'm behind on my Come Town.
It is that to podcasts is like how Terminator 2 is to action movies.
Oh shit.
Like it's like the complete stretching of the boundaries of what it can be. And it's like, even if that's not your type of thing, you can't listen to that and not go like, this guy's a genius. This guy's the fucking, like, he's so fucking good at this. He's so fucking good at this that it like defies reason. No, he's one of the smartest people and most talented people I've ever fucking known.
But that
like the funniest guy I've ever known. Yeah.
Well, and it's sort of, to the point you were making. I mean, the idea that there are certain things that are sort of off limits or in which you may not find any humor. It just seems to be a fundamental divide. And not even a fundamental, it's a fundamental contradiction between those who are just like, nothing is funny fundamentally, except unless it's like Two Broke Girls or whatever. Like,
so that's a great show.
Yeah,
see, there you go.
Best comedy ever made.
Yeah, or like or like the latest SNL monologue. That is funny because it has the structure of jokes. Versus like the people are just like, it's funny if it makes you laugh, it's funny. Yeah. Let's be
comedy.
Joyless.
Yeah, comedy is weird. Comedy is weird because it's the most ephemeral form of expression you can do. Like something could be like by the most objective measures you could do of comedy, which is hard. 5 years ago, you can do it. It's objectively funny. Everyone objectively loves it. Then 5 years later, it's like brought up as an example of something that sucks. And no one's wrong in either case.
Right.
It ages fucking terribly. It's so time specific. Literally, some things they're the funniest thing you've ever heard, but only in the moment they said it. You repeat it, it just sucks. It sucks the wind out of the room. It's a gunshot being shot into a plane fuselage, sucking the air out, like in that scene in Goldfinger. You're constantly just fighting the clock. And then if you like do any type of comedy shit, you're fighting against your own clock, because the longer you do it, like the longer you're in media, the more disconnected you are from anyone's normal life. No matter how hard you try to approximate a normal life, you're completely disconnected. And the longer you go, the more that you have to both remember like why you found some things funny, why some things worked, and then remember you're also like, you're not afraid of like finding a job anymore. You're not afraid of a lot of things that you used to be afraid of, and you don't have a lot of very human anxieties that a lot of people, almost your entire audience has. And you can either, go crazy trying to pretend you're one of those people, like I'm just an average Joe like you, and you're just, you're doing a one-man show at that point, or you can rage against the changing world and moralize about people that come after you, and sort of try to stake your claim that your type of mean comedy, that was the best kind, or you've grown since then. And it's all just insecurity. It's insecurity about that change, and insecurity about how poorly everything ages. But it's also subject to like the most intense like online criticism, which is weird because it seems to be a universal human experience that everyone has gone, whatever too far is, everyone's done it. Just joking with their friends, everyone's done it. Or they have a totally different meter of what's funny than everything else. everyone else does, but it is people speak the most objectively about it, which is insane. But I do think I think it's because it's the one thing everyone wants to be funny. Everyone thinks they're funny. Everyone wants to be that. Even people who say they don't tell jokes, they're doing some type of wry joke that they think is secretly hysterical. And it's, God, what's that movie where Greta Garbo plays like a Soviet agent?
No, nothing.
No idea.
My friend Taylor does this stream, Bobby Games on Twitch, and he watches old movies that are like on Prime Video or in the public domain. And we watched a movie, where Greta Garbo is a Soviet agent. And, it's rough sometimes watching comedy from the 30s or 40s because it's like, talk about not fucking aging well. There are jokes about like, you don't want to get your shoe shined by this type of guy or whatever. Like, it's like, what the fuck? But there are things in it that were so timelessly funny, and it hits at a part of you. It hits at this deeper part of you than like a love story or a drama or a tale of human loss would, because it's like, that is more humanly relatable. That me and then some fucking European piece of shit in 1941 would find the same basic idea funny. And it's, I think a lot of like hemming and hawing over comedy and insufferable moral debates at the core of it, for just normal people who are doing it. For people in the media, they're just finding a way to browbeat you. But for normal people that are doing it a lot of the time, I think it is fundamentally a desire for real human relatability and connection. And all fights over comedy are essentially that we all have that desire, that we all want to relate to each other, and we all want each other to think we're funny. And it doesn't always work like that. And that's where a lot of pain comes from. And that's, how you can find yourself writing a 40 tweet thread about how you should tell Polish jokes or something.
I do just so distinctly remember the first time I ever cried laughing at a podcast. Not something I thought, not a sentence I thought would ever leave my mouth if you'd asked me in like 2012. Was the day after the Hillary's loss. Is the Chapo cold open you did, which is some people did not think that was funny, but honestly, to me, I think that's the moment America began to heal.
Thank you.
It was, and I remember playing it to sort of like Hillary lib friends, and they invariably either I think kind of caught the desperation of it. It's the idea that a good joke can be truer than the truth in some ways.
Yeah. I mean, like that was. I mean, a lot of people in my family, like in my immediate family, they supported Hillary in the general election. They were very distraught after Trump won. And that was like, like my family aren't like obnoxious, annoying libs, but they were like, their parents were Democrats. Their parents before them were, fucking Democrats. It's just like, that's just what you do. And, it was like, this was, if you watch enough cable news and shit, you'll think that, and this is the end, not like everything that happened before that. And I think like there was like a divide sometimes in our family. And one of the things that like thawed that divide over the past 4 years and like made us see, there are some things we're not always going to see eye to eye on. Definitely. Like, I think, public hangings for insurance executives, maybe they don't think that, but
reasonable differences between reasonable people.
Yeah. Show trial for all NATO high command. Maybe I think that, they don't think that, but the thing that like sort of bridged an emotional divide that was put in place during the 2016 election was like laughing about all of it.
Well, and like mocking the death of Dale Earnhardt,
absolutely. We all hated him.
Yeah.
We all hated him. Yeah. All hate that man. No, like it was to like be in like a family group chat and like laugh about how funny all this shit was. Laugh about like, yeah, that Trump makes everyone go to his like apartment building. Like, that shit was hilarious. It's so fucking demeaning to take a picture with him in the fucking lobby. No, yeah, that helped a lot. Yeah, if you find finding someone funny is to understand them on some, if not totally understand them, but it's to understand them on an emotional level. It's to understand what they want and what they're afraid of. And if you laugh with somebody and they say something you find deeply funny and vice versa, you can't really hate each other. I think a lot of people actually want that and don't know it.
Well, we're coming up on time. I just wanted to relay to you the results of an unscientific poll I took of the Twitter gay communists. I'm pleased to tell you came out as the sexiest Chapo. Apparently.
Thank you.
Yeah,
appreciate it.
Yeah,
appreciate it, guys.
Among an unscientific poll of Twitter gay. Actually, I think Amber might have been their favorite Chapo, but that's just a yes slay queen thing.
Well, no, I'm not beating her.
No, well, no,
way,
it's a yes slay queen thing. But anyway, anything going on, Felix? You know, we know, you know, you could just really use this giant platform you're getting right now. We know you don't have a lot of opportunities to promote, you know, what you will get up to.
Okay, well, I am anything in the immediate future. Look out for Untitled, Matt Crispin, and Felix Biederman project. All I can say now.
Sweet. Yeah. And if just shout out to the haters who just for a moment, just the people who we had Glenn Greenwald on not so long ago, and people were like, I can't believe you would platform this person. Yeah, like
people are always saying that about Glenn. Like, it's like, you know what people don't understand about Glenn? I fucking love Glenn.
Yeah.
I always have. Glenn got to start arguing with people on Blogspot.
Yeah.
He's always like, he's that guy. He's a forum troll like I was.
Yeah.
He's a brilliant guy and maybe the greatest living journalist, but also that's who he is. That's who Glenn is.
It's true. A poster above all else. We're trying to convince people he's the CEO of Twink Revolution as well. Figure just let him catch the heat for our opinions.
Yeah.
Cool. Felix Biederman, thank you so much.
Thank you.
My pleasure.